I'm being joined by legal practitioner Henry Ekine. Hello, Henry. Thank you so much for joining us at this time. All right, Henry. Yes. Could you please turn on your mic or take off your talk back? Take off your earpiece so we can hear you. Henry,
Can you
can you
hear me
hear me?
now?
Yes, I can hear you
Oh,
perfectly.
good
Yes. So,
morning. Thank you for
good
having me.
morning once again. All right, so how significant is the ECOWAS Community Court of Justice's ruling, against Nigeria in terms of setting a precedent for human rights cases within the region?
It's very significant. In one first in the consideration that particularly the ENDSARS protest, which has appeared to suffer real legal and constitutional consideration in Nigeria, has been given some sort of legal interpretation for the protection of the rights of those protesters that were violated. Secondly, it's very significant to also send a signal to the Nigerian state that the issue of the protection of rights of citizens and the fundamental duty of states to protect the rights of citizens on all the international human rights instruments that we have ratified is something we cannot undermine. And again, it also expands, and that's very interesting for me when I read the considerations of the court. It also expands the spectrum of the fundamental rights that are valuable for citizens beyond the provisions under Chapter 4 of our Constitution, to the extent that you could even talk about the right to investigate or the duty of state to investigate alleged violation of rights. And when the Nigerian state fails to do so, the courts, the Community Court of Justice, can come clear to insist that the Nigerian state, as a state party, and then as a signatory to the protocol and treaty to the ECOWAS Community Court of Justice,
All right,
that we
Henry.
have to truly exercise that duty.
All right, well, now that there's a ruling, what issues do you think would arise in the enforcement of the compensation awarded by the court to the applicants, given the sovereign nature of member states within ECOWAS?
Yes, the ECOWAS Court of Justice is its jurisdiction covers all the member states. So the question of it is a submission of the sovereignty of nations, the ECOWAS community in the first instance, and of course also with the creation of the court, the respective member states of ECOWAS
Hello, Henry.
a signatory to the ECOWAS community revised treaty. And more fundamentally, the ECOWAS court has the jurisdiction to ensure the enforcement and observance of all the laws and acts of the community. So Nigeria, as a member state of ECOWAS, has a duty to respect all of those laws, including the enforcement of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, which Nigeria has ratified. And pursuant to Section 12 of our Constitution, we have even enacted that's interesting, that Nigeria has an act for that purpose, Charter on Human and People's Rights, Ratification and Enforcement Act. So there is no excuse by Nigeria to enforce and ensure the observance of all of the articles in that particular very important human rights instrument in the African continent, and of course in the West African sub-region.
All right, now still talking about the enforcement, are there legal avenues available for the Nigerian government to contest aspects of the ECOWAS court's judgment, or do you think that the Nigerian government would actually appeal to this ruling?
This is very interesting. Every member state is expected to respect and bound by the decisions of the court. And with respect to appeal, I'm afraid that the jurisdiction of the Community Court of Justice could be seen as both original and appellate, and it's final. The decision is not appealable. There's no other institution that the Nigerian state can appeal this decision to. At best, you could bring an application for review or revision of the decision of the court. So it's important to understand that the ECOWAS Court of Justice has a jurisdiction that arguably could be both original and appellate and final. The decision is binding on Nigeria. Nigeria has no excuse but to enforce, and you recall, it went on to even direct Nigeria to report to the court within 6 months to show how they have enforced the provisions of the African Charter of Human and People's Rights, and particularly how they have complied with the decision of the court, particularly with respect to holding those errant state agents responsible for the violation of rights of citizens. So there is no appeal, except where Nigeria feels that there is need for review. Then you bring an application to the same court to review. Okay. But that's really a rare situation, except if you're establishing that there is probably miscarriage of justice, or that it was obtained by fraud, or it's some very limited grounds that you could bring that kind of application. Okay. Otherwise, state parties have undertaken to be bound by those decisions.
All right, well, thank you so much, Henry, for your time, for your take, and also the enlightenment. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.